Principles of sports nutrition.
Insulin is a polypeptide hormone. It consists of 31 amino acids arranged into polypeptide chains, and it is secreted inside our bodies by the beta cells in the islets of Langerhans. This is in the pancreas. It's one of the functions of the pancreas. And insulin promotes glucose utilization, protein synthesis, and the formation and storage of lipids. The average human pancreas stores about 200 units of insulin and secretes between 25 to 30 units daily into the circulation. Now, when plasma glucose, which is also known as blood sugar, rises after eating carbohydrates, especially high glycemic carbohydrates, and especially a lot of them at one time, insulin release is stimulated. You need insulin to metabolize and get at the sugar. You need insulin to transport the energy, the sugar, the amino acids into the cell. As plasma glucose falls, as your blood sugar drops, insulin secretion is reduced. So there's a balancing act going on. Problems with this balancing act is the heart, or the seat for a lot of people, of obesity and psychotic behavior and depression. Insulin really has a major effect indirectly on the brain. During periods of prolonged fasting, the insulin levels in a normal, healthy person stabilize. This particular slide is about insulin stability. And when you eat food, your body is designed to metabolize the food. You digest it, you break it down, you absorb it, you distribute it, you process it through the liver. It then moves through the body, through the bloodstream, it gets to the cells and to the muscles. The energy has to be sustained continuously on either a low or a very high level. So insulin is crucial to the transport of glucose and amino acids into muscle cells. Properly managed by the right diet, insulin is the athlete's best friend because it's a major player in muscle hypertrophy. Hypertrophy means increasing in size, enlargement, growing. With the support of human growth hormone, it has a direct effect on the production of what are called somatomedins, or insulin-like growth factors, or the acronym IGF. This goes on in the liver, and IGF is really critical in the process of muscle remodeling and health and life. For these reasons, insulin has earned the reputation of an anabolic hormone. So it definitely has an anabolic effect or plays a role in the process of anabolism. However, insulin is a two-edged sword. It is also the hormone of feasting and plenty, and depending upon what is eaten and when, insulin can also function as a brilliant fat storage hormone. So it has a very positive effect, a needful effect. It's essential, it's crucial. If you can't produce insulin, you'll die. You need to take insulin if you're diabetic. However, the overproduction of insulin as a consequence of driving it up with the overconsumption of refined carbohydrates and sugar, and even some of the newer forms of animal proteins which have been observed in research to behave like sugar. Although insulin responds directly to ingested sugars like glucose, sucrose, derived from a variety of natural and refined carbohydrates, amino acids also stimulate insulin release, although to a much lesser degree. Arginine and lysine have the greatest insulinogenic effect, followed by leucine, phenylalanine, valine, and methionine. Ingested fats have virtually no effect on insulin, although insulin has a great effect on them. So some of these newer animal proteins, because they're fed such high quantities of corn and soy, and they're not eating raw, fresh green grass and moving around, the amino acid profiles in their flesh are actually changing and becoming more insulinogenic. So even eating a steak from a cattle-raised animal is not the same as consuming, say, venison or moose meat or wild game. So the objective with health and performance in mind is to stabilize insulin chemistry, insulin levels. The way that you do this is to eat small meals throughout the day, Use protein to stabilize your blood sugar and to maintain a positive nitrogen balance. Improve insulin sensitivity by taking supplements, things like chromium picolinate, essential fatty acids, vitamin E, and lipoic acid. Eat low to medium glycemic foods throughout the day except after training. That's when you want a high glycemic load to replete the glycogen, which you depleted through exercise and movement and training. Remember that high circulating levels of insulin, which can only arise as a consequence of eating inappropriate amounts of carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates, and alcohol and sugar and sweets and bread. Anything made from bread and flour pretty much is a driving force. High levels of insulin, called hyperinsulinemia, is going to promote fat storage inside your guts and around your midsection. Regionally, it will be stored appropriately to your genetics, and you will never be able to get lean, or as lean as you could be, or maybe as lean as you want to be, because you don't get the connection between the carbohydrates, the consequent effect on insulin chemistry, and knowing how insulin locks the fat in, prevents fat from being utilized as a fuel source, even when you're exercising 6 times a week, 2 hours a day. You've got to understand the effects and influence of food as a chemical on hormones in the body.